Hey everyone, Paul Hasegawa, welcome to part 3 of our Hasegawa 124 Lancia O37 video build. Today we're going to focus on our interior and get that all primed, painted, detailed, assembled, ready for part 4 we will do with all our engine and running gear. Now, what I did say in the new year bench update I did was I'm going to take a bit more time and try and add a bit more detail to my interiors, engines, running gear and so on and so forth. And that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to add a bit of wiring, we're going to add some texture to the seats, we're just going to take our time, some carbon decaling, and try and just make it look a bit more visually interesting. You may look at the end of this and think, what a waste of time, it looks crap. But hey, it is what it is. I've done the best of what I can. There's some things that changed, a couple of things went wrong, some things turned out really well. It swings and roundabouts, really. It's just one of those things. The other thing I've done as well is, even though I think I speak quite clearly, we in the UK, we have regional accents, and it does vary from region to region. Some are stronger than others. Some people have difficulty understanding what I'm saying. So when I explain a product, they can't quite catch it. So what I've done now, or I've tried to do, is have pictures pop up with the product, what it is, and there's any relevant info with the product, I've done a little board to explain what it is. So let me know what you think of that at the end. Is it too invasive, too intrusive on the video? Are they annoying? Is it helpful? Give me some feedback at the end. It adds a lot more time to editing, and it took a lot of time to lift all the pictures from everywhere, edit all the pictures, and then going back through. It's another step in editing the video that I have to add. So I'm watching the video like 3 times now, all the way through, because I have to voice over, I have to cut it, and then I have to add all these bits as well. So it does definitely add a bit more time. If it's worth doing, I will do it all day long. All the hard work's done now, all the pictures are done and everything. It's just a case of adding them now. So let me know your thoughts on that as well. So let's jump straight in and let's get started on our interior.
Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the little bell notifications, get notified of all our latest videos. Click the like button and leave a comment. I do read and reply to all the comments and appreciate everybody that takes the time to leave a comment on the channel. And of course, if you scroll up in the description, there's a link to a big long list of all the items I use in my videos. So if you see anything, you should be able to find it. So we're going to start with our interior today. As already mentioned, we're going to familiarise ourselves with what we're going to need and require today. Not a lot of parts involved, but quite a bit of work to get to where we want to get to. So we've got several plastic components to cut off the sprues and a couple of photo etch parts to take out of our Studio 27 aftermarket photo etch set. So we're going to take the center tunnel, which is all photo etch. We've got a floor plate and we've got the pedal box as well, which is all photo etch. So we've got our Tamiya side cutters. We're going to remove all the parts from the sprues, everything that we need, use our instructions for reference, come in, clean them all up, get them mounted and ready for primer. So yeah, definitely one of my favourite tools, these side cutters. I've had these for 5-6 years now, and they were as good as new until I destroyed them about 2 weeks ago by cutting some metal. I didn't realise it was metal I was cutting. I actually think I was holding something with them, and I put indentations in the jaws now, and they don't quite cut as cleanly as they did. So sadly, if I hadn't done that, these things would have lasted for a long time. So 6 years service. I've got a new set on the way from, well, our shop, Ultimate. So hopefully they'll be with me soon. So with that all taken off the sprue, we'll take off as much plastic as we can, carefully. And then we're going to grab one of our Ultimate 400 customizables, which I've cut to a more usable size. And we're going to remove all the excess plastic and then polish it up to a high shine. We do a full range of sanders at UMP, so you can go over there and have a look. So there's our customizable. This is our Sponge 220. So use this on more rounded areas. And if you need to get in closer, you can come back to customizable again. Nice flat sander. And then, like I say, we can get rid of all the seams around the edge of the seats, because there are quite a few, and just work our way through it. And then once we're happy we've got all that off, we can then come in with our buffer on the blue side, then spin it over the white, and hey presto, we've got as new plastic. If you need to repeat, carry on. Repeat it and go back through the process. Now the roll cage, now I like to assemble these on the vehicle, glue them and take them off so I can spray them all at one go. So on the 037 we've got a rear window between the cockpit and the engine compartment. Then we've got a 3-piece roll cage which literally connects at the front there, in the back, and on the top of that window. So we're going to assemble both sides. We're not going to glue them in place because that would make life a little bit more difficult. Once we've got it where we need it, we'll come with the the crossbar. Get everything lined up. Then we'll get our cross piece to go in the top. Make sure it's orientated the right way and the right angle. Pop it in place on one side and the other. Use a bit of tension to hold it and grab our Tamiya extra thin. And just put a couple of light wipes over the top. We let that dry. Grab it almost instantly. Just give it a little bit of pressure for a couple of seconds. And there we go. Job done. We'll let that dry and that can be mounted for primer. So we've got some PE parts now. The transmission tunnel on this is being replaced with PE. It's a worthy addition. It looks a lot better. We're using our Zoron PE shears here, which are fantastic tools. So we cut it off the fret and remove the majority or as much of the photo etch fret as we can. And then should it require it, we can come with our diamond file from Tamiya and give it a little bit of a clean up. But it doesn't always need it. You can often get really nice and close to the surface, like so. And it doesn't need a file at all. Now, one thing I did on this, I did install this incorrectly at the beginning, but I rectified it at the end. PE instructions, aftermarket instructions aren't often the clearest. So we'll come back and rectify at the end. But for now, we need to bend this into two different angles. So we've got our small shop 5.5 inch bending machine. So we line it up on the edge. Use the large blade that comes with it. Pop it underneath. Bend it 90 degrees. And there we go. We don't quite want a full 90 degrees, to be honest. It needs to have a little bit of an angle. And then we line up one side, tighten it up a little bit. So, line up the other. That's it, tighten it up fully. Then grab our blade again and fold this side up as well. So these bending machines are a luxury. There's other ways of doing this, but this makes life so much easier. And there we go, that's ready to go. Now, like I say, I put this where I think it goes looking at the instructions. So I'm looking at them now thinking, right, where does it go? Okay, it goes that way. I can see the right way it goes. We've got a little touch of P fret there. And then we need our diamond file. There we go, it's a Tamiya diamond file. Just remove the excess. See, I said we might use it, didn't I? So yeah, I can see the ridge on the plastic component of the cockpit tub. And to me, by the instructions, it looks like it sits on top. And I knew it didn't look right when I was here because there was a gap at the back and I could see where the gear stick went through and I thought, that can't be right. But I looked at the pictures again and I thought, no, it must be, it fits in there absolutely perfect. That's where it's going to go. So we grab some of our Loctite Perfect Pen CA glue on one of our paint cups, a couple of dabs either side, and we glue it in place. So I do prime and paint this, and as I come to assembly, I notice the problem. And it literally needs to come off those little ridges I'm gluing it to there and go right to the floor of the actual car cabin cockpit. It took me 2 seconds to fix later on. I literally popped it back off. It came off with no real drama at all. A couple more dabs of CA glue. We pushed it right down past those parts and it was in place, fully home, absolutely perfect. But it just goes to show you, just double check those instructions because it is easy to get them wrong. I knew this was wrong. I knew there wasn't something right because of that gap. But I looked at the instructions and thought, no, it must be right. Right, so you may get a little bit of excess CA glue come through. So this is where acetone is handy. You can get this from any chemist. Well, not any, but most chemist or drug stores should hold this. If you can't get pure acetone, nail polish remover will work as well. And if you rub it on the metal part, stay away from the plastic because it will melt plastic. You can remove excess CA glue. It will take off any CA glue that may have got on there. But like I say, be aware because it will melt plastic. So keep it away from any of the plastic parts.
a gentle scrub, get rid of all those little bits where it may have splurged out. And there we go. Now, our seats. We're going to use some Deluxe Materials microbloons, some Revel matte black paint, a Tamiya flat brush, and we are going to microbloon our seat. So, I want to create a texture, but I don't want a texture that looks like flocking or embossing powder. So, we're going to use the microbloons using the black enamel paint. And then we are going to give some texture to the paint by literally doing the same process you did with the flocking. But this time, just with the microbloons, it's a little bit easier and a little bit quicker, to be honest. And then we can paint them in our appropriate colour later. So, exact same process as flocking or with our embossing powder. We're going to give this a coat of the black enamel. And then come in, pour our microbloons over the top, remove the excess, let it dry. Then, like I say, we can paint it in the colour we require. So, I'm using a bit of white tack here, UHU, to pop it underneath so I've got something to hold. So you can see I made a little holder there. Make sure it's fully in, and there we go. We can hold that like that now. Like I say, it is quite messy this, so make sure you've got a bit of paper on your bench because you can pop the microbloons back in. These are crazy little things. I believe their original purpose is as a bonder in resin, I think it was. But it adds fantastic texture. So it's great for dashboards, seats. You could even use it for carpets. But I don't think it's quite big enough for carpets. So applying a generous layer of black matte Revel enamel here. All round we want the microbloons. And literally, as it is, the microbloons will only really stick to where the enamel is. So be careful where you get it. So we painted all the front, and then we're just going to lightly use the edge of the brush to get the edge. Any excess you can wipe up with a cotton bud and a bit of mineral spirit should you need to. If you're going to wipe up the excess, do it before you put the microbloons down. So my plan to these seats is we're going to microbloon them, prime them in grey, then paint them in blue as the real car shows on my reference pictures, and then we're going to Kevlar decal the back of the seat as well. A lot of work went into these seats, all the harnesses and what have you. Like I said, I'm going to try and dedicate a bit more time to my interiors now, and hopefully it'll show through. You might look at the end and think, my God, that looks awful. But, you know, I took my time on this. This is a few days' work doing this. As you see, we've got a bit of excess enamel there. We'll let that sit to one side. And then should we need to, we wiped off a lot of it with the cotton bud. We'll get the rest off later with mineral spirits. So these are the microbloons. They are very crazy little things. Wherever you do, don't sneeze, because they will end up everywhere. Thankfully, they don't tend to go airborne as much as flocking powder. But we keep the nozzle on. We're just using that to apply them. As you can see, we're tapping off the excess. And look, it looks a bit heavy. We take it off camera, and I don't blow it off camera at all. Definitely didn't blow it then at all. Oh, there we go. Look, it's turned out perfect. So that is the exact look I'm going for. If you can see any spots that need a bit more, just add it. Let the gravity carry it down. Tap it off. As you can see, that looks that's looking good. Just keep applying it until you're happy that you got the full coverage you want. And there you go. Sit that to one side. Let it dry. Definitely don't blow on it. Oh, there you go. That's better. So I am blowing on it. Off camera, I'm blowing it away because it gets rid of the excess. And it does work well. And like I say, the excess microbloons you can fold up in the paper and tip it back into the bowl. So we've got some UMP black primer now. And our UMP Apex 0.35 needle. We're at 24 psi and we're going to apply 2 or 3 light coats to all our parts here to prime them in preparation for paint. So with the UMP primer, shake it well. Keep it stored in our sunlight and apply in thin coats, especially the first couple of coats. The black and grey are pretty forgiving as long as you do nice thin coats. The white can be a bit of a nightmare if you're not used to spraying it, so it's very, very thin coats. If you're not too sure on spraying white, add a touch of the grey to it to give it a grey tinge or tint, so you can see it a little bit easier going down. But as long as you apply it in like thin coats,
you haven't got tons of grease on your fingers and you've been handling the part and leaving greasy fingerprints behind, you'll have no real issue. I know how far I can push this from years of spraying it. And it's a case of just get enough down for your first coat, sit it to one side while you do all the other parts. By the time you come back, it will be mostly ready for a next coat. So there we go, they're all primed up. We've got our UMP grey primer now. Our microballoon seats have been drying for about 12 hours now, overnight. And we're going to prime this all up in grey. The reason I'm using grey is because the blue will cover well over the grey. So that's why I chose it. And there we go. So there's our UMP grey primer. It's a couple of coats, and that is job done. We've now got our Tamiya LP5 lacquer paint, thinned with the lacquer thinner with retarder. It's about 60% thinner to 40% paint. I have it pre-mixed in a bottle because I use this colour all the time and I go through so much of it. It's quicker and easier for me to have it pre-thinned. It's for our Ultimate Apex airbrush, 18 psi, 0.35 needle. Once all those parts are done, we're onto our blue for the seat. So I chose the body colour we use for the car because looking at references, it looked a very good colour, and I knew in a matte finish or a satin finish over these micro balloons, it would look good. So we've got zero paint colour. We've got our Ultimate Apex 0.35, 18 psi, and we're just going to apply several very light coats, building up as we go until we reach the end here, which we've had probably about 4 coats now, and we've got a nice shade of blue, which looks nice and textured, and it's pretty matte as well. I was thinking I was going to have to matte coat this, but looking at it, it didn't need doing. So decaling. So again, trying to put a bit more work into the interiors. We have Kevlar door cards on this. So I thought, right, let's do these. So they're painted in silver, as my references show, on the side of the door cards. And then we've got some of the carbon decal film, Kevlar one from Scale Motorsport. And I thought we'll be able to do these both in one piece. Trim to the panel lines once it's on. Cut the centres, fold it over, job done. It won't take long at all. Sadly, that wasn't the case. This is either a totally different decal film to the usual carbon weave that I use all the time, or mine has gone weird because I've had this for quite a while because it just would not conform around the edges. So I resigned myself to doing it in pieces. So as you can see up on screen there, we've got our Ultimate Decal Solutions, and we've got our water pens as well. And as always, anything you see in these videos, you can find linked in the description. It will tell you what they are and where you can get them from usually. So we've got our normal decal solution here. We're going to apply a couple of coats, let it sit for 5 minutes, and just keep working at it and work our way through the solutions as required until we get the part to set. But yeah, I tried on 2 door cards to piece this in one go, and it just wouldn't go. It just kept leaving creases everywhere. So that's it. If you can't beat it, find a different way of doing it. As you can see, the decal solutions work really well. We're onto our, I think we've got extra, no, we're onto the strong now, is what we're using. You can see it's starting to really conform. We're using our brush to brush it round any areas to give it a helping hand. And then just let it sit, work on another bit, and come back. So once I'm happy that I've got it conformed down, I'll grab our Tamiya craft knife. It's got a brand new blade in it, and we're using our panel line that's there just to trim the edges. Now I use the flat edge of one side to go right up to that, so there's a bit less to cut. So we've literally got the top and bottom to cut to shape. And there we go. We've got our Tamiya decal tweezers as well, one of my favourite tools. Use that to put the decals in place or removing small bits. And then we grab our water pen with some of our strong decal solution again, and just brush it into the panel line to get it all looking all nice and uniform. Once we've got that done, we'll then put a slit through the middle, like so. Then grab our strong decal solution again. Obviously this has already been working on the decal, so it's already softened up. My hand's covering it a little bit, I do apologise. So we'll conform it all to the edge, add a little bit more, quite a generous bit, and we'll just pop it on top, like so, and then let that sit there and work its magic. and then we can start to conform it around. So each door card is going to have 4 pieces, which took quite a while to do, but it was a lot easier than doing it in one piece. I was quite fussy on how it looked. I didn't want any creases in there, so I did it this way. There's other ways you could do it. You could do it one piece, you could cut around the centre, you could slit it. Whatever way works for you is the best way to do it. So that's it. I'm going to show one piece, and then we'll move on because I'm not going to sit here and show them all. But there's a second piece in, and again, we're going to trim it to those panel lines. So there's a good, I think, to do these 2 panel door cards took me 2 hours or something crazy like that. And the seats took, no, I think it was 2 hours in total with the door cards and the seats, if I remember right. It took quite a while to do. And there we go. There's our 3rd and 4th piece on. A little bit easier, these pieces, because they only need to conform to the top and bottom edge. So again, we pop them in place, hit them with decal solutions, and once they're all conformed around the edges, that is it. And we can work on the other one at the same time. You can see it top right on my water bowl. While one's working away, you can let the other one sit with some decal solution on, softening up, ready. And then when you're happy it's in place, use your cotton bud to remove any excess solution and to help the decal conform better. And there we go. That's it. Both door cards done. As you see, we've got one of our C parts in water soak it already. This is how I work. I'm always ahead one piece. It's always sat there waiting, ready to go. And the seats, again, I knew I wouldn't get these in one piece, so we've pieced these in 5 pieces. So we've got a straight piece through the centre, which we've popped on right through the middle. We've cut it around the top already, and we've cut out the slits for the harness holes as well. And we just let that soak and sit in. We then got our side piece, or one of them. And again, we're using the strong UMP solution here. I've gone straight for the strong because I noticed that was what was working best on it. But if you're not sure, start with the normal and work your way up through the strengths. So it's literally a case of putting the solution on, let it sit, let it soften the decal a bit, come back, brush it over, rinse, repeat until it's done. And that's what takes the time doing it, unfortunately. But here we go. Here's one of the last pieces going in place. So we had a piece through the middle, a piece on either side at the bottom, and a small piece at the top. Once you get it all on and properly set, you can't really see the seams at all. It's quite good at hiding the seams because of the pattern on the decal. It is there. If you look really closely, you will see it, but I'm happy to leave it as is. It's good enough for me. So now we've got several decals for our dashboard. Sadly, one of which does go wrong, and I don't notice it in time, and it wasn't salvageable, sadly. So it is what it is. But all the dials go on well. The center console button screen goes on well as well. They're not bad decals, good cartograph decals from Hasegawa, which was nice to see. So let them soak as usual. We don't have our heater on today. For me, it wasn't really worth it. There's not a lot of conform in either of these decals, so it didn't really warrant the heated water. So we're just using room temp water. Pop it in place and let our decal solutions do the work. Then we've got a couple of decals for the seat as well, a couple of Sparko decals. We do lose one of these, sadly. I am currently looking for all my decals for a replacement. It was on, it was set in place, I put the seat belts on, and the top one vanished. No idea where it went. It just upped and vanished into thin air. So I need to have a good search through my decals and try and find a spare one to pop it back in place. So line these up, get them in place, hit them with a decal solution, leave them be, and they are done. Now I've got our rear screen, which goes between the engine compartment and the cockpit. So we've cleaned it up. We're going to edge it with our Edding 400 black marker pen, just to get a bit of a framework. And then we're going to use a new glue today, which is something I've been chatting with for the guys for the past week or so about why I've never thought about using it before. So we add the edge to this just to give it a bit of a nicer look. It finishes it off. It makes it look like a rubber seal. It's a nice little touch. Good little tip I picked up ages ago from, can't remember where, but it's a good tip and it does look really well. So just carefully go all the way around,
Any marker pen will do, a Sharpie or what have you. I just find the Edding pens really good. So I've got a UV glue pen. Now I've used these in the past, many moons ago. I'm talking 6 years ago, and the UV glue never quite dried properly back then. It always stayed tacky and not really gluing things strongly in place. But I was told that this stuff now sets more like plastic, so I thought, okay, let's give it a go. So I picked this up off eBay for £2.50, really cheap. It comes with UV light as well. And this is our guinea pig. I've tested it on some smaller plastic parts and it seemed to work very well. It has pretty good strength to it. But I think it's a safer alternative than using CA glue. And it'll look better than using a PVA-based glue because sometimes they can leave horrendous marks and not dry quite clear. So I thought, right, let's give it a go. My main point of use for this is going to be putting the main glasswork inside cars where you won't be able to see this at all, where I normally put CA glue because it dries within 5 seconds. It's a lot safer to use than CA glue. If you get CA glue on a glass clear piece, it is, yeah, it's there. That's it. You're not getting rid of it. So this was my trial today. So we've got the clear part. We've applied several dabs of the UV glue all around the edge. Just making sure that the clear part's clean and dust free. Make sure we get it the right way. This is handed as such. There's some bolt details that go on the back. Pop it in place. Make sure it's fully home where we want it. You do get a good little bit of working time with this as well, which is good. I can see a little bit of excess glue there, but we can remove that later on. And we pop our UV light on. I'm going to switch my light off so you can see it. I'm just going to run it round. It says 5 seconds to set. So we just let it go all the way around a couple of times until we're happy. So like I say, the primary use for this is going to be putting the glass in for cars, so it won't be seen at all because I don't think it dries quite as clear as I'd like it to. So I wouldn't use it on exterior glass parts. But on the whole, that's not bad at all. You can still see it a little bit. There's a little bit of excess glue there. I'm going to let it fully cure. Then I'll run my knife along it and use a cocktail stick just to push it off. But happy with that. It works well. Time will tell when we come to do our interior glass. Onto our seat belts. Now, on my cars for the past year and a half, I've been doing 3mm seat belts, which I kind of think look better than the 2mm. But looking at reference pictures of this car, the belts look very thin. And harnesses are available in different sizes. I think they're only 2 and 3 inch. But I'm pretty sure the 2 inch are more for amateur motorsports than I don't know the word properly. Proper motorsport? That's probably not the right word. But they did look thin on this. So I thought, right, I've got a KA Models belt set there. We've got some 2mm ribbon. Let's use the 2mm and keep it looking like it does in the pictures I've seen of the car. For me, I think the ideal size would be 2.5 for these cars. But sadly, the fee sets only really come in 2 and 3. So we're pretty much stuck there. So I've got 2mm ribbon, got the KA photo set. I've got my Tamiya Optivisor, which I picked up dirt cheap on eBay. I got this for £40. Used, but as new. These are not like £80 to £100. Absolutely fantastic quality. Crystal clear. Very high optical quality. And doing fiddly jobs like this, it needs doing. Comes with 3 interchangeable lenses. Is really comfy to wear. And yeah, a vast improvement over the cheaper one I've been using for some time. So we cut off the parts we need. Again, we need to use our bender machine here. This is the center harness part. So we've bended it into shape. I'm just going to pop our ribbon through. It's fiddly and it's a lot smaller than using the 3mm stuff, hence my Optivisor. So once you're happy you've got it through, pull it through. I angle the tape, the ribbon, cut it to an angle so you get a point so you can get it through the holes. Now I have a full video on this, on doing harnesses on my Subaru build. I can't sit here and show you today because these take hours to do. So I've only got a few points and then we're going to come back and it's built. If you want to see these built from start to finish, I will put a link to the Subaru section
showing this in the description of this video. You can go over there and watch that. But it is very, very boring, monotonous, and frustrating to do. But the overall look at the end is worth the effort. So we use some double-sided tape there, and that's what we use to attach all the harness together. So like I say, we showed the start and we're here at the end. It's all done. And we're putting on our decals. Now, I like to set the decals and the harnesses with Mr. Hobby Leveling Thinner, using one of our micro brushes here, the green ones. And you literally load up the brush, touch it to the decal, leave it, move to a different section, and leave it while loaded. And what this does, it melts the decal into the fabric, and I think it looks very realistic. It looks a lot better than leaving the decal on fresh, because they are sewn in pads or logos usually. So it does make a difference in my opinion. So just keep adding it, load it up, touch it, let the reaction carry it in, and it'll melt it in. As you can see on the right harness, it's done it already. The left one just needs a little bit of persuasion, and there you go, it's starting to melt now. Put it to one side, leave it alone. Now we've got some wiring we're going to add to the car now. We've got my wiring box. I've just recently gone through all my stuff and sorted it all out. I might show this in the next bench update. I've sorted all my aftermarket drawers out, the wiring, connectors, harnesses, to make everything easy to find. Because as I found, quite often I want to add some detail, but the chore of trying to find it in a drawer full of massive wires and what have you would often put me off. So I'm going to add a couple of wires. So I've got some reference pictures of inside the cockpit. They're not going to be 100% correct. I'm using a bit of, artist impression as such, I guess. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make a little harness here. So what I've done is we've spun a piece of wire around itself using our drill. So what I've done, I've got a piece of wire, cut it to size, folded it in half. So one half is end over on itself. Then I've got our Tamiya mini drill. You could use anything like this, or you could use your hand if you have to twist it. It just makes life a little bit easier. You could use your pin vise, whatever. Pop it into the chuck, tighten it up to hold the wire, like so. And then we pull it straight and taut. Grab the end, and then using the battery powered drill, we'll just spin it. And this will make like a little wiring harness for us. Literally, as soon as you feel a bit of pressure on your fingers on the other side, stop. And there we go, job done. So we've curled it round. We're going to use a bit of vinyl. So this is the stuff you get with some Hasegawa car kits that represent the seatbelts. It's awful stuff for seatbelts, but cut thin. I'm going to use it to make a wiring harness. What can we call it? Tape is what we'll call it. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off. We're going to apply a bit of CA glue. We'll then apply another bit of CA glue on the other side. Wrap it round. Pull it tight. Once it's glued, we'll cut it. And hey presto, we have a wiring harness with a bit of tape around it. Again, it's not realistic. I'm just kind of dipping my toe here a little bit, adding a little bit of detail to the kit if I can. And what we're going to do, we're going to add this to the fire extinguisher system, and then we're going to run a harness through the centre. That's what my references show. They look very, very basic inside these cars. We're talking early 80s here, so not the most technologically advanced back then. But there's a lot of electronics on the dashboard, but not a lot running from the front to the rear of the car. So there we go, that's glued in place. We're going to drill out our fire extinguisher. We've got our 2.34 shank drill bits and our Tamiya pin vise. I think we've got a 0.5 drill bit there. We drilled through, we stripped the wire back. We've undone a little bit of what we spun up right to that piece of vinyl we added. And we're going to glue that in place there. And then we'll run the wiring along the edge. And pop it in place where we want it. So, a couple of dabs of CA glue for the... I'm assuming it's an extinguisher, it must be. Like I said the other day on our live stream, I know nothing about what I build. I just enjoy building. I know a few bits. I know lots. I know bits about lots, not a lot about bits. Does that make sense? No.
There we go. So we're going to hide this behind the seat. So we're just going to run it along the floor. Like so. And then we've glued the fire extinguisher down. It's probably not a fire extinguisher. For all I know, it's a soap sud dispenser. I'm sure somebody in the chat will tell me. And then we'll put it behind the footrest. Like so. And there we go. Like I say, all we'll do is we'll put the seat in and we'll hide it around the back. This one, we're putting a bit of tape on again to make a little harness. So a little bit of CA glue again, a little bit around the top, cut it to shape, cut it to size, job done. I'm just going to run this through, and this piece of wiring I can see on the real car runs from behind the dashboard to the back of the car. So that's why I'm putting this one in. Like I say, it's not correct. I'm just trying to add a little bit of detail for you and for me as well to make it a little bit more visually interesting. It's not the most interesting of cockpits on cars, to be honest, because like I say, it's quite sparse. There's not a lot in this. But what you do to it is entirely up to yourself. All the metallic parts, we did paint these in UMP Black Primer. They've then been painted in TS17 Tamiya, which was decanted and sprayed for the apex. We did it off camera because, well, you've seen me painting these before. You don't need to see it every time. Once they're glued in place, we've got one of our Molotov paint pens now. These are very handy. This is red. I've got red and orange. We're just going to detail paint some of the buttons inside. Now, you don't want to look like the Starship Enterprise bridge. So, don't be adding all greens, blues, yellows. You know, it's not a rainbow. But I've painted some of the buttons on the dash in silver. Now, as you can see, the decal went wrong on this was the steering wheel Lancia logo. I put it in place, absolutely perfect, set it, put it to one side, came back, and it had moved, and it is well and truly set in place, and this isn't coming back off. Tamiya panel line wash now. We're going to add this around the interior. We've got our photo etch footplate in there too. I'm just going to apply this to all the recessed and raised areas. Let it dry, and then we come back and wipe off any of the excess later on. Just adds a little bit more detail to what we've been doing. So just let the capillary action carry around all the parts. Dries in about half an hour. It's a fast drying an hour wash. And we can remove the excess with a cotton bud with some Santador odorless mineral spirit on it. It's a worthy step to do. Just adds a bit more visual interest to the model. There we go. We need to make sure our wiring's in the correct place. Oh, there's my head. Look at all those grey hairs. Absolutely shocking. There we go. Just looking at it, make sure we go everywhere we want. Yeah, that looks good to me. So we'll tighten that up, put it to one side. The panel washers are fantastic. They're a bit of a nightmare to get a hold of. It's a real shame, but it is what it is. So by now I've already noticed that that center console is in the wrong place. I have moved it. It sits in there absolutely perfect now. So we can pop our gear stick in and our handbrake lever before we put our seats in. So we're going to look at it. The locating point underneath will no longer fit, so we're going to cut that flush like so. I'm just going to add a dab of CA glue and then put it in by eye roughly where the hole would be. Basically the hole needs widening a bit in the photo etch, and to be honest it wasn't worth doing. So we just cut off the locating point, make sure it was oriented the right way, looked at it by eye and popped it in place where we thought it should go, which that way was the wrong way. This way now is the right way. There we go. Seats, we've got our perfect pen from Loctite again. Our handbrake levers in there as well. We'll pop that in place. Now, these interiors change colour from car to car. Some are black floors, some are bare metal. Handbrake levers are black, gear sticks are black. I've just gone on the reference pictures I found and stuck with the one I thought looked the most interesting. So, someone's going to think, oh, they weren't that colour, but from what I can see, some of them were. So, we put some CA glue around the seat locator point. Popped it in place, just make sure all our belts are stuck down properly. Like they are, there we go. Then we'll repeat that for the other side. I love these perfect pens from Loctite. They are Really quick, simple and easy. Not the cheapest because you don't get a lot of CA glue in there. But for points like this, it's just so quick to apply. And you can leave the lid off. It doesn't dry out. Like I say, it's a nice thick glue gel. And it does grab the part really well. So that's the seat in place. We now put our rear screen in. So a couple of little dabs of CA glue in the locator hole. This does actually hold it on really well without any glue. But we put some in there for some security. And there we go. That's that in place. Push it home. Make sure both sides are fully down, like so. Job done. Blue seats are looking really good in this. Glad I did them in that colour. Roll cages in, literally just 2 dabs of CA glue and it's in place, and our door cards are on as well. Again, just 2 locator points, a little dab of glue, and in they go. And then there's the dashboard, just sits either side of the door cards. It locates in there very positively. Some CA glue in there, push it home, make sure it's all straight. And there we go. That's everything in place. We've got our photo etch pedals are in there too. And here we are. It's how it looks. So, might not be the best, but it looks alright to me. Like I say, I need to add that other decal to the seat on the left-hand side. But overall, it looks alright. It's better than just doing it out of the box. You won't see the black on the side of the door cards. They're hidden in the car. But I think through the screen of the car, this should look pretty good. So there we go. Well, I think it turned out okay. Like I said at the beginning before we got started, it could have turned out better. It could have been worse, or we could have left it out the box and it would have looked a bit meh. I think the Kevlar decals, they were down okay. They had a bit more visual interest to the car. The blue seats turned out excellent. The micro blues are fantastic for adding texture to seats and dashboards and what have you. They really do add some lovely texture to it. Brand new grey primer and the blue from the Zero paints that we did the body in. I think the seats came out well. The harnesses came out well. I'm on the fence whether I prefer the 2 or the 3mm harnesses. I think the 2mm look too small and the 3mm can look a bit big. I think we need 2.5mm harnesses in the cars, but we need the photo etch to match it, otherwise they don't fit. They're either too small or too big. So yeah, but I'm happy how they turned out. They turned out well. Couple of issues with decals. We lost one off the seat. The steering wheel one went foobar, absolutely ruined. I'll try and find the spare one for the seat. The steering wheel one, there's nothing I can do about it. It is well and truly set in place. The benefits and the negatives of our decal solutions is once you put a decal down and it's set, you're probably not getting it up without completely destroying it. So I decided to leave it be. It is what it is. But yeah, there's our interior done. Let me know your thoughts on the video down below, especially the captions that pop up showing the products. Let me know your thoughts on that, because that's something quite important I want to talk about today for sure. There we go. So we're ready for part 4 now, which we can concentrate on all the running gear and the engine. Then hopefully we can come back in part 5 and get this thing all done and move on to our next project, which I'm still deciding what it could be. And I think I might put a poll up on ISM about what to do next, because I know what the subject's going to be. Well, not the subject, a group build. So I know what genre it's going to be. I just don't know which vehicle to do. And it'll probably be a video build as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I might do a poll on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Thanks for watching today. As always, any comments, criticisms, whatever, pop them in the chat down below. I read every comment. Love reading the comments from you guys and girls out there. I really do enjoy reading them. And I do reply to you all eventually. It takes me a while, but I do get through them all. And make sure you sub to the channel, click the bell notification, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Check out upretail.com. You can get most of the products I show in my videos. International Scale Model Facebook page and forum. My Paul ISM Facebook page where all my personal modern work is shared. Please go over to Facebook and like my page. It's nearly 4,000 followers. I think I'm about 120 away now. It's getting there slowly, so I'm trying to get that built up. And of course, check out the Live the Bench page for all the live show news and the Off Air Hangout group for Off Air Hangouts as well. A question for the day. There might already be one in the video that you might not have seen, but I think we'll add here. Let me think. What is the next modelling product you plan on buying? So not a kit, the actual product. So be an airbrush, a paint, thinner. What is your next planned purchase? Let me know. And is there another question in the video? You'll have to fully watch the video to find out, won't you? There we go. Thanks for watching today. I will catch you all next time for part 4. Stay safe, stay sane, stay at home, and I'll catch you all next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.